In the heart of a quiet, traditional village nestled between rolling hills, 23-year-old Lila had always been the girl with big dreams. Her days were filled with work in her family's small market stall, but her nights were spent with books and a lantern by her side. Lila often imagined herself living in the bustling city, pursuing higher education, exploring new opportunities, and experiencing a world far removed from the predictable rhythm of village life. However, her family's expectations had always loomed large over her. Lila's father, Govind, a staunch believer in tradition, had made it clear that a woman's primary role was to marry, build a family, and honor her responsibilities within the household. For years, Lila had tried to balance her own aspirations with her family's desires, but deep down she knew a confrontation was inevitable. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Govind cleared his throat, signaling he had something important to announce. "Lila," he began, his tone firm but not unkind, "we've made a decision about your future." Lila paused mid-bite, her stomach knotting with unease. "What decision?" she asked cautiously. "You'll marry Aaron Patel," Govind said matter-of-factly. "The arrangements have already been made." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Lila stared at her father in disbelief, her mind racing. Aaron Patel was a name everyone in the village knew. Years ago, he had been a promising athlete and the pride of his family, but a devastating accident had left him paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, Aaron had become a recluse, rarely venturing beyond the walls of his family's large estate. "Father, I can't do this," Lila said, her voice trembling. "I don't even know him. Why would you?" "It's not up for debate," Govind interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. "The Patels are a respected family, and they've asked for you specifically. This is a good match." "A good match?" Lila repeated, incredulous. "You're asking me to marry a man I've never spoken to, someone whose life is so different from anything I imagine for myself?" Govind's expression hardened. "Enough, Lila. This is not just about you. It's about family, about duty. You'll learn to adapt." Her mother, Kamala, who rarely opposed her husband, placed a gentle hand on Lila's shoulder. "Sometimes we don't see the blessings in the choices we don't make ourselves," she said softly, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness. Over the next few days, Lila's protests fell on deaf ears. Her brothers avoided the subject entirely, unwilling to challenge their father, while her mother offered only vague reassurances. Lila felt trapped, her dreams slipping further away with every passing moment. On the morning of her wedding, Lila sat alone in her room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her bridal attire was beautiful. Intricate embroidery glimmered on the vibrant red fabric, but she felt like a stranger wearing it. The cheerful buzz of the household preparations only deepened her sense of isolation. When Kamala entered the room, she found Lila wiping away silent tears. "You're stronger than you think, my daughter," Kamala said, kneeling beside her. "Life doesn't always give us what we want, but it has a way of surprising us. Trust that this path will lead you where you need to be." Lila wanted to argue, but she knew it would be futile. Instead, she allowed herself to be led to the ceremony, her heart heavy with resignation. The wedding was a grand affair, attended by nearly everyone in the village. Lila walked down the aisle with her father by her side, her steps slow and uncertain. When she reached the altar, she finally saw Aaron up close. Sitting in his wheelchair, he looked every bit as composed as she felt conflicted. His sharp features and piercing eyes carried a mix of sadness and strength, but his expression was guarded. As the priest recited the rituals, Lila stole glances at Aaron, trying to gauge his thoughts. He barely looked at her, keeping his gaze fixed straight ahead. She wondered if he was as reluctant as she was, or if he had resigned himself to this arrangement long ago. When the ceremony ended and they were declared husband and wife, Lila felt a hollow ache in her chest. The weight of her new reality pressed down on her as they performed the traditional farewell, bidding an emotional goodbye to her family. Govind hugged her briefly, whispering, "Make us proud, Lila." The journey to the Patel estate was silent and tense. Aaron's parents, Raj and Meera, greeted her warmly, their kindness offering a small measure of comfort. But when Lila was shown to her new room, separate from Aaron's, she realized how distant their relationship would be. That first night, Lila sat on the edge of her bed, overwhelmed by uncertainty. She could hear the faint hum of Aaron's wheelchair as he moved about in the adjoining room, but neither of them made any effort to speak. "This is my life now," she thought, her heart sinking. A stranger in a house that doesn't feel like home. Over the next few days, Lila tried to adjust to her new role as Aaron's wife. The Patels were kind, but their wealth and formality made her feel out of place. Aaron, meanwhile, remained aloof. He spoke to her only when necessary, and even then his tone was curt. One afternoon, as she helped Mira in the kitchen, Lila finally mustered the courage to ask, "Why did you choose me for Aaron?" Mira hesitated, then said, "Aaron has been through so much. He's closed himself off from the world. When we met you, we saw someone with warmth and resilience. We hoped you could bring light back into his life." Lila didn't know how to respond. She felt like a puzzle piece forced into a space where it didn't belong. But Mira's words planted a seed of curiosity. What had Aaron endured to make him this way? One evening, as Lila prepared for bed, she heard a knock on her door. Aaron wheeled himself inside, his expression unreadable. "I know you didn't want this," he said bluntly. "Neither did I. But we're here now. So let's make the best of it." Lila was taken aback by his candor. "And how do you suggest we do that?" Aaron's gaze softened, if only slightly. "By being honest, we don't have to like this arrangement. But we can at least try to respect each other. It wasn't much, but it was a start." For the first time since the wedding, Lila felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this life, though far from the one she had imagined, held the possibility of something she hadn't yet discovered. The days following Lila's wedding were marked by a tense and delicate balance. She and Aaron lived like strangers under the same roof, bound by tradition but divided by silence. While Lila tried to adjust to her new life, Aaron remained distant, retreating to his study or the garden, rarely engaging with her beyond polite formalities. Their separate routines felt like an unspoken agreement to coexist without intruding on each other's lives. One evening, after a particularly quiet dinner with Aaron's parents, Lila found herself wandering into the garden. The cool night air and the faint scent of jasmine offered her a moment of peace. As she walked among the flower beds, she noticed Aaron sitting near the fountain, a book resting on his lap. His wheelchair was positioned under the soft glow of the garden lights, casting long shadows that seemed to mirror his withdrawn demeanor. Lila hesitated, debating whether to approach him. Finally, she mustered her courage and walked over. "Do you mind if I sit here?" she asked, her voice tentative. Aaron glanced up, his expression guarded but not unkind. "It's a free garden," he replied, gesturing to the bench beside him. Taking a seat, Lila let the silence linger before speaking. "I used to love gardening," she said, her gaze fixed on the fountain. "Back home, we had a small patch where I grew marigolds and basil. It was nothing like this, but it felt mine." Aaron didn't respond immediately, but after a moment he closed his book and said, "My mother designed this garden. She says it's her way of creating beauty where there was none." Lila nodded, sensing the weight of his words. "It's beautiful," she said softly, "and peaceful." For the first time, Aaron looked at her directly, his expression softening. "It is." Their conversation that night was brief, but significant. It marked the first time they had shared a moment of genuine connection. Encouraged by this small breakthrough, Lila began making subtle efforts to bridge the gap between them. She learned his daily routines, finding opportunities to cross paths without being intrusive. She offered him tea during his long hours in the study, asked about his favorite books, and even joined him in the garden occasionally. At first, Aaron remained cautious, unsure of Lila's intentions. But as days turned into weeks, he began to appreciate her quiet persistence. Her questions about his interests were genuine, her presence unassuming. Slowly, the walls he had built around himself began to crack. One afternoon, Lila found herself in the library, searching for a book to occupy her time. Aaron entered, his wheelchair gliding silently across the wooden floor. Looking for something specific, he asked, startling her. Lila turned, clutching a novel in her hands. Not really, she admitted. I've always loved reading, but it's hard to know where to start with a collection like this. Aaron smirked, his tone light. It's overwhelming, isn't it? My father collected these books over decades. Half of them are unread. Then I'll start with the other half, Lila replied, a playful challenge in her voice. Aaron chuckled, surprising them both. Start with this one, he said, rolling toward a nearby shelf and pulling out a well-worn copy of a classic novel. It's one of my favorites. Taking the book from him, Lila smiled. Thank you, Aaron. You're welcome, he said, his voice softer than usual. Their interactions grew more frequent, and with each passing day, Lila discovered new facets of Aaron's personality. Beneath his reserved exterior was a man with a sharp wit, a deep love for literature, and a surprisingly dry sense of humor. She also learned about the accident that had changed his life, a car crash that had taken away his ability to walk, and for a long time his will to live. I was angry at the world, Aaron admitted one evening, as they sat by the fire. I pushed everyone away, including my parents. I thought my life was over, but it wasn't, Lila said gently. You found a way to keep going? Aaron shrugged, his gaze distant. I'm still figuring that part out. Lila's heart ached for him, but she didn't press further. Instead, she resolved to be patient, letting him open up at his own pace. One evening, as they worked together on a crossword puzzle, an activity Aaron had introduced to her, he paused and looked at her thoughtfully. You didn't want this marriage, did you? He asked. Caught off guard, Lila hesitated before answering. No, she admitted. It wasn't what I imagined for my life. But I'm here now, and I'm trying to make the best of it. Aaron nodded, his expression contemplative. I didn't want this either, he said quietly. I didn't want to be someone's burden. But you've been kind. Patient. I didn't expect that. You're not a burden, Aaron, Lila said firmly. You're a person, and you deserve to be treated as such. Her words lingered in the air, carrying a weight that neither of them fully understood yet. Their tentative friendship began to blossom into something deeper. Aaron started to involve Lila in his world, sharing his thoughts, his hobbies, and even his frustrations. Lila, in turn, found herself confiding in him about her own struggles and dreams. They discovered a mutual respect that laid the foundation for a bond neither of them had anticipated. Lila also began to see glimpses of Aaron's strength and resilience, qualities he often downplayed, but that shone through in his determination to live a fulfilling life despite his limitations. And as Aaron grew more comfortable with Lila, he found himself smiling more, laughing more, and even daring to hope for a future that didn't feel so empty. By the end of their first month together, the distance between them had lessened significantly. They were no longer two strangers forced into an arrangement, but two individuals learning to navigate life together. Lila realized that her initial fears and assumptions about Aaron had been unfair, and Aaron began to see Lila as more than just a companion. She was becoming a source of light in his once dark world. The quiet companionship that had developed between Lila and Aaron over the first few weeks of their marriage began to deepen as they shared more of themselves with each other. Lila had started to see Aaron not as a man defined by his limitations, but as someone with immense depth and strength. Similarly, Aaron began to appreciate Lila's quiet resilience, her ability to adapt, and the kindness she extended even when she had every reason to resent the situation. The turning point in their relationship came on a rainy afternoon. The sky had darkened early, and the sound of raindrops on the estate's large windows filled the air. Lila was sitting in the library, engrossed in the book Aaron had recommended. She was so immersed in the story that she didn't notice Aaron enter until he spoke. Enjoying it, he asked, a hint of amusement in his tone. Lila looked up, startled but smiling. Very much. I can see why it's your favorite. Aaron wheeled closer, stopping by the window. There's something about stories like that, about people overcoming impossible odds, that's always resonated with me. Lila set the book down, sensing an opening in his words. Do you ever feel like your story is still being written? She asked gently. Aaron hesitated, his gaze fixed on the rain-soaked garden outside. I used to think my story ended the day of the accident, he admitted. I lost everything I thought defined me, my independence, my freedom, my purpose. For a long time, I couldn't see beyond the pain and anger, but you've come so far, Lila said, her voice steady. You've built a life, even if it's not the one you imagined. Aaron turned to her, his expression vulnerable. Do you really believe that? Or are you just saying it to make me feel better? I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it, Lila replied. You're stronger than you realize, Aaron, and your story is far from over. That conversation lingered in Aaron's mind for days. He had grown so accustomed to viewing himself through the lens of his disability that Lila's words felt like a revelation. Her belief in him, so genuine and unwavering, began to chip away at the self-doubt he had carried for years. In the days that followed, Aaron started to push himself out of his comfort zone. He spent more time engaging with the household staff, overseeing small projects on the estate, and even accompanying Lila on walks through the village. The latter was a particularly significant step for Aaron, as he had avoided public spaces since his accident, fearing the stares and whispers of others. At first, the village's reaction to seeing Aaron in his wheelchair was exactly what he had feared. People stared, some with curiosity, others with pity, but Lila's presence beside him gave him strength. She walked with her head held high, greeting everyone with warmth and confidence. Her demeanor seemed to signal to the villagers that there was nothing unusual about Aaron's presence, and gradually, the stares subsided. I didn't think I could do that, Aaron admitted as they returned to the estate one evening. You didn't just do it, you did it brilliantly, Lila said with a smile, and I'm proud of you. One day, while organizing books in the library, Lila stumbled upon an old sketchpad tucked behind a row of dusty tomes. Curious, she flipped it open and was stunned to find intricate drawings of landscapes, portraits, and even designs for buildings. The detail and artistry were breathtaking. These are incredible, she murmured just as Aaron entered the room. What's incredible? He asked, wheeling closer. Lila held up the sketchpad. These, did you draw them? Aaron's face reddened slightly. A long time ago, he admitted, before the accident. Why didn't you tell me you were an artist? Lila asked, her eyes wide with admiration. I stopped drawing after everything happened, Aaron said, his voice tinged with regret. It felt pointless. It's not pointless, Lila said firmly. Your talent is a gift, Aaron. You should use it. Her words reignited something in Aaron. That evening he retrieved his art supplies from storage and began sketching again. As he worked, Lila sat nearby, reading or simply watching him create. The act of drawing seemed to breathe new life into Aaron, giving him a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Their growing connection wasn't just about shared moments or encouragement, it was about healing. Lila found herself letting go of the resentment she had felt toward the forced marriage. She began to see it not as an ending, but as an unexpected beginning. Aaron, too, started to believe in the possibility of a future filled with more than just routine and survival. The pivotal moment came during a village festival. Lila and Aaron attended together, their first public outing as a couple. The festival was lively, with colorful decorations, music, and laughter filling the air. As they moved through the crowd, Lila noticed how many people greeted Aaron warmly, expressing genuine happiness to see him out and about. You've been missed, she told him as they stopped near a stall selling sweets. Aaron looked around, a faint smile on his lips. I didn't realize how much I missed this, too. At one point, a child accidentally bumped into Aaron's wheelchair. The boy looked up, wide-eyed, and apologized profusely. Aaron crouched slightly, meeting the child's gaze with a reassuring smile. It's okay, he said gently. Just be careful next time. Lila watched the interaction with a full heart. For the first time, she saw Aaron truly at ease, unburdened by the weight of his past. That evening, as they returned to the estate, Aaron turned to Lila. Thank you, he said simply. For what? She asked, puzzled. For believing in me, he replied. For helping me see that my life isn't over. Lila smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. You're the one who did the hard work, Aaron. I just reminded you of what was already there. Their conversation marked a shift in their relationship. They were no longer two individuals navigating a shared circumstance. They were partners, united by a bond forged through understanding, patience, and trust. As the weeks turned into months, the bond between Lila and Aaron began to transform into something neither of them had anticipated. What had started as a marriage of obligation and uncertainty was now evolving into a partnership filled with mutual respect, admiration, and an undeniable spark of affection. One morning, Lila was tending to the flowers in the garden when she heard the familiar hum of Aaron's wheelchair behind her. She turned to see him holding a tray with 2 cups of tea, an unfamiliar but welcome sight. "Tea for the gardener," Aaron said with a playful smile. Lila laughed, brushing dirt from her hands. "I didn't know you made tea. I thought I'd give it a try," he replied, handing her a cup. "But don't expect this to become a habit." "I wouldn't dream of it," Lila teased, taking a sip, "but it's surprisingly good." They sat together on the garden bench, the warm sunlight casting a golden glow around them. Lila shared stories from her childhood, and Aaron spoke about the years before his accident. The more they talked, the more they realized how much they enjoyed each other's company. "You have a way of making everything seem less complicated," Aaron said, his tone soft. "That's because life is simple," Lila replied, looking at him. "It's people who make it complicated." Aaron chuckled, shaking his head. "You're full of surprises, Lila." "So are you," she said, her smile lingering as their eyes met. Their growing connection didn't go unnoticed by Aaron's parents. Mira, who had always hoped Lila's presence would bring Aaron out of his shell, was overjoyed to see the changes in her son. "You've given him back a piece of himself," she told Lila one evening. "For that, I'll always be grateful." "It's not just me," Lila said modestly. "Aaron has always had the strength. He just needed a reason to see it." Mira smiled knowingly. "And sometimes that reason is love." Lila blushed, her heart skipping a beat at the word. She hadn't allowed herself to name what she was feeling. But Mira's words resonated deeply. One rainy evening, the power went out unexpectedly, plunging the estate into darkness. The family gathered in the living room, where Mira and Raj lit candles and reminisced about old times. Aaron and Lila sat close together on the sofa, sharing a blanket for warmth. "It feels like we're in a different era," Lila remarked, watching the flickering candlelight. Aaron nodded. "A simpler time, maybe. No distractions, no noise." They sat in companionable silence for a while, listening to the rain pattering against the windows. Then Aaron spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you ever regret marrying me?" The question caught Lila off guard. She turned to him, her expression earnest. "I did at first," she admitted, "but not anymore. These past months have shown me that what I thought I wanted wasn't what I needed. I don't regret being here, Aaron. Not with you." Aaron's eyes searched hers, and for the first time, he let his guard down completely. "You've changed everything for me, Lila. I thought I'd never feel this way again. But with you, I feel alive." The air between them grew charged, and though neither of them said another word, the depth of their emotions was palpable. Their relationship continued to deepen, with small gestures and shared moments bringing them closer. Lila began accompanying Aaron on trips to nearby towns, where they explored markets and met with locals who were delighted to see Aaron out and about. Each outing strengthened their bond, and Aaron's confidence grew with Lila by his side. One day, while they were visiting an art gallery in the city, Lila noticed Aaron staring at a painting of a couple dancing. The man in the painting had a prosthetic leg, but the joy on his face was unmistakable. "You used to love dancing, didn't you?" Lila asked gently. Aaron nodded, his gaze fixed on the painting. "I did. It was one of the first things I thought I'd never do again after the accident." "Maybe you still can," Lila said, her voice filled with quiet determination. Aaron looked at her, his expression skeptical. "How? We can figure it out together," she said, her hand brushing his, "if you're willing to try." That evening, back at the estate, Lila played a slow waltz on the record player. She stood in front of Aaron's wheelchair, her hand extended. "Shall we?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Aaron hesitated, but her enthusiasm was infectious. I suppose I can't say no, he said, taking her hand. With Lila guiding him, they moved together in a gentle rhythm. It wasn't graceful or perfect, but it was theirs. Lila laughed as Aaron cracked jokes about his two left wheels, and by the end of the song, they were both smiling and breathless. "You're full of surprises," Aaron said, his tone filled with admiration. "So are you," Lila replied, her heart swelling with emotion. Their love blossomed in ways neither of them had expected. Lila found joy in Aaron's laughter, his wit, and the way he made her feel seen. Aaron discovered a new purpose in caring for Lila, supporting her dreams, and sharing his own. Together, they became a team, navigating life's challenges with resilience and humor. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Aaron took Lila's hand in his. "I never thought I'd say this," he began, his voice steady, "but marrying you is the best thing that's ever happened to me." Tears filled Lila's eyes as she squeezed his hand. "I feel the same way," she said. "You've shown me that love isn't about perfection. It's about finding someone who makes you better." Under the starlit sky, they sealed their love with a quiet kiss, knowing that they had turned what began as a reluctant union into a partnership built on trust, respect, and an unshakable bond. With their love solidified, Lila and Aaron began to build a life together that went beyond the expectations placed upon them. The quiet understanding and trust they had nurtured became the foundation of a partnership filled with shared goals and dreams. No longer bound by the constraints of their initial circumstances, they started to envision a future that reflected their unique bond. Lila, who had always dreamed of pursuing a meaningful career, found inspiration in the work she had observed Aaron's family doing in the community. With Mira's encouragement, she began volunteering at local schools, teaching children basic literacy skills, and organizing creative workshops. Her natural warmth and ability to connect with others quickly made her a beloved figure in the village. Aaron, watching Lila thrive, felt a renewed sense of purpose himself. With Lila's unwavering support, he rekindled his passion for architecture and design, which he had abandoned after his accident. "I used to think my ideas were worthless because I couldn't physically build them," he admitted to Lila one evening as they reviewed his sketches. "But now I see that creating them is just as valuable." "Your ideas have always been valuable, Aaron," Lila said, her tone firm. "You have a gift, and the world deserves to see it." Aaron began designing community projects, starting with plans for a new library in the village. He worked closely with local builders and craftsmen, using his sketches to bring his vision to life. The project quickly gained momentum, drawing attention from nearby towns, and even garnering offers of financial support from donors who admired his ingenuity. The library became a symbol of hope and progress for the village. When it was completed, the entire community gathered for the grand opening, celebrating the achievement as a testament to resilience and collaboration. Lila stood by Aaron's side during the ceremony, her heart swelling with pride as he delivered a heartfelt speech. "This library is more than just a building," Aaron said, addressing the crowd. "It's a reminder that no matter the challenges we face, we have the power to create something meaningful. And none of this would have been possible without the unwavering belief of my wife, Lila." The applause that followed was thunderous, and Lila felt tears prick her eyes as Aaron turned to her with a smile. In that moment, she realized how far they had come, not just as individuals, but as a couple united by love and shared purpose. As their lives grew fuller, so did their relationship. Lila and Aaron found joy in the small moments, sharing meals, working on projects together, and spending quiet evenings under the stars. They supported each other's ambitions, celebrating successes and comforting each other during setbacks. Their home, once a place of silence and isolation, became a hub of activity and warmth. One day, while walking through the garden, Aaron turned to Lila with a thoughtful expression. "What do you think about expanding the estate's grounds?" he asked. "Expanding?" Lila echoed, curious. "Yes," Aaron said, gesturing to the far edge of the property. "We could build a community center there, a place where people can gather, learn, and share ideas." Lila's eyes lit up. That's a wonderful idea, Aaron. It could be a space for everyone, just like the library. They spent the next few weeks drafting plans, collaborating on the design and purpose of the center. Lila suggested including a section for vocational training, while Aaron proposed incorporating spaces for art and cultural events. The project became a labor of love, reflecting their shared vision of giving back to the community that had shaped them. As the community center took shape, Lila and Aaron's relationship deepened even further. They had learned to navigate life's challenges together, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. Their love, once tentative and uncertain, had become a powerful force that fueled their dreams and strengthened their bond. Their journey also inspired those around them. Mira and Raj often marveled at the transformation in their son. "I haven't seen him this alive in years," Mira confided to Lila one evening. "You've given him back his spark." Lila smiled, her heart full. "He's given me just as much, if not more." The grand opening of the community center was a moment of triumph. Villagers from near and far gathered to celebrate the occasion, expressing their gratitude for the vision and effort Lila and Aaron had poured into the project. As they stood together, cutting the ribbon to officially open the center, Lila and Aaron couldn't help but feel a profound sense of accomplishment. "This is just the beginning," Aaron whispered to Lila as the crowd cheered. "For us and for them," Lila replied, squeezing his hand. In the months that followed, the community center became a beacon of hope and opportunity, transforming lives and strengthening bonds within the village. Lila and Aaron continued to dream big, their partnership driving them to achieve things they never thought possible. Their marriage, which had started as an arrangement born of obligation, had blossomed into a love story that inspired everyone around them. Through their shared journey, they proved that love wasn't about perfection or fairy tale beginnings. It was about building a life together, brick by brick, with compassion, understanding, and an unshakable belief in each other. As the years unfolded, Lila and Aaron's bond deepened, becoming the cornerstone of their shared success and happiness. Their partnership was a testament to the transformative power of love, not the fleeting, idealized version, but a love forged through patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Together, they built not just a life, but a legacy that would inspire generations. The community center flourished, becoming a vibrant hub for education, art, and social gatherings. Children filled its classrooms, learning skills that would open doors to brighter futures. Local artists displayed their work in its gallery, and workshops brought villagers together to share knowledge and ideas. The once quiet village had become a thriving community, buzzing with activity and hope. Lila and Aaron's leadership played a pivotal role in this transformation. They worked tirelessly, not just as benefactors but as active participants. Lila taught classes on literacy and creative expression, while Aaron led workshops on design and problem-solving. Their dedication inspired others to give back, creating a ripple effect that extended beyond the village. One day, as Lila walked through the community center, she paused to admire a mural that a group of children had painted. It depicted the journey of the village, from its humble beginnings to the bustling, colorful place it had become. In the center of the mural were two figures holding hands, surrounded by symbols of growth and unity. "Looks familiar, doesn't it?" a voice said behind her. Lila turned to see Aaron, his wheelchair gliding to a stop beside her. She smiled, her eyes misting. "They captured it perfectly," she said. "Everything we've built together." Aaron nodded, his gaze soft. "It's more than I ever imagined. And it's all because of you." "Because of us," Lila corrected, taking his hand. "We did this together." Their love story became an inspiration to the entire village and beyond. Journalists and visitors from neighboring towns came to learn about the transformation of the community, often focusing on the couple who had made it possible. When asked about their journey, Lila always emphasized the importance of perseverance and partnership. "It wasn't easy," she would say. "We started with doubt and fear, but we learned to trust each other, to see the best in one another." Love isn't about perfection, it's about growing together and building something greater than yourself. Aaron, too, shared his perspective during interviews. I thought my life ended the day of my accident, he admitted, but Lila showed me that every ending is just the beginning of something new. She gave me a reason to believe again, and together, we've created something that will outlast both of us. As their influence grew, so did their impact. They established scholarships for children to pursue higher education, launched vocational training programs for adults, and created initiatives to support families in need. The village became a model for sustainable development, attracting attention from organizations and philanthropists eager to replicate its success. Despite their growing fame, Lila and Aaron remained deeply connected to their roots. They continued to live in the estate, which had become a symbol of hope and possibility. They hosted gatherings for the community, celebrating milestones and achievements with the people who had supported them from the beginning. One evening, as they sat on the veranda, overlooking the garden, Lila turned to Aaron with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder how different our lives would be if we hadn't been forced into this marriage?" she asked. Aaron considered her question, then shook his head. "I used to think about that all the time," he admitted, "but now, I can't imagine a life without you. What started as an obligation became the greatest blessing of my life." Lila smiled, her heart full. "It's funny how life works, isn't it? The paths we don't choose often lead us exactly where we're meant to be." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. The moment felt like a perfect encapsulation of their journey, peaceful, enduring, and filled with gratitude. As the years passed, Lila and Aaron's legacy continued to grow. Their love story became the heart of the village's transformation, a living reminder that even the most unexpected beginnings could lead to extraordinary outcomes. They proved that love wasn't just about romance, it was about partnership, resilience, and the power to create something meaningful together. When asked about their secret to happiness, Lila always smiled and said, "It's not about finding the perfect person. It's about becoming the perfect partner." And Aaron has taught me that love is the greatest strength we have. Aaron, always one for humor, would add, "And it helps if your partner knows how to make a mean cup of tea." Their laughter, their bond, and their unwavering commitment to each other became their ultimate legacy, a testament to the power of love to heal, inspire, and transform. The years passed, and Lila and Aaron's story became the foundation upon which their community thrived. Their relationship, once defined by uncertainty and reluctance, had grown into a profound bond that inspired everyone who knew them. Together, they had built a life filled with love, purpose, and a legacy that would endure long after they were gone. One crisp autumn morning, Lila stood in the garden, watching the golden leaves fall gently to the ground. The garden, which had once symbolized Aaron's solitude, was now a vibrant and lively space filled with blooming flowers, children's laughter, and the occasional flutter of a butterfly. It was a reflection of everything they had created together, a life transformed by love and perseverance. Aaron wheeled himself out to join her, a contented smile on his face. "Thinking about something?" he asked, his voice warm. "Just reflecting," Lila replied, turning to him. "This garden, this place, it's grown into something so beautiful." "Like us," Aaron said, taking her hand. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Lila nodded, her heart swelling with emotion. "Farther than I ever imagined." As they grew older, their relationship only deepened. They continued to find joy in the small moments. Morning tea on the veranda, quiet evenings reading by the fire, and shared laughter over old memories. Their love was not marked by grand gestures, but by the steady, unwavering presence they offered each other. The community they had nurtured flourished as well. The library and community center had become cornerstones of the village, drawing people from neighboring towns to learn, grow, and connect. Lila and Aaron's names were spoken with reverence, their story a source of inspiration for everyone who sought hope in difficult times. One evening, during a celebration at the community center, a young couple approached Lila and Aaron. The woman, visibly pregnant, smiled shyly as her husband spoke. "We just wanted to thank you," he said. "The scholarship you established allowed me to study engineering. Now I'm back in the village, helping to build new projects, and I'm teaching at the local school," the woman added. "You've given us a chance to build a future for our family." Lila's eyes filled with tears as she placed a hand on the woman's shoulder. "You've built this future yourselves," she said. "We just gave you the tools. The rest was all you." Aaron nodded, his expression proud. "You've proven that anything is possible with determination and love." As the years continued, Lila and Aaron faced the natural challenges of aging, but they approached them with the same resilience and humor that had defined their relationship from the beginning. Aaron's health occasionally wavered, but Lila was always by his side, offering her unwavering support. And in moments when Lila felt weary, Aaron's gentle encouragement reminded her of the strength they shared. One particularly quiet evening, as they sat together watching the stars, Aaron took Lila's hand. "I want you to know something," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "What is it?" Lila asked, her fingers intertwining with his. "You've given me a life I never thought I'd have," he said. "You've made me see the beauty in every moment, even the hard ones. If I leave this world tomorrow, I'll leave it with no regrets, because I've had you." Lila's throat tightened, and she blinked back tears. "And you've given me a love I never thought I'd find," she said. "You've shown me that true happiness isn't about where you start, it's about who you share the journey with." They sat in silence, the weight of their words settling between them. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if bearing witness to the depth of their love. When Aaron passed away, peacefully a few years later, the village mourned the loss of a man who had left an indelible mark on their lives. The library and community center stood as monuments to his vision, but his true legacy was the hope and inspiration he had given to so many. Lila, though heartbroken, found solace in continuing the work they had started together. She dedicated herself to expanding their initiatives, ensuring that their shared dream lived on. She often spoke of Aaron in her speeches, recounting his resilience, his creativity, and the profound love they had shared. In her later years, Lila was often asked about the secret to their remarkable relationship. Her answer was always the same: love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up every day for the person you care about. It's about growing together, lifting each other up, and building something that lasts beyond yourselves. Lila passed away surrounded by family, friends, and the community she had helped create. Her final wish was simple: to be laid to rest beside Aaron, under the tree in the garden where they had shared so many quiet moments. The village continued to thrive, the library and community center now joined by new projects inspired by Lila and Aaron's vision. Their story was passed down through generations, a reminder that love has the power to transform lives, heal wounds, and create legacies that endure forever.